Hi, my name is Prachi, and in this edition of Unjargoned, we aim to help provide simple explanations to demystify pre-money and post-money valuation. The world of startups and investing in startups is notorious for its ability to use complex terms to refer to relatively simple concepts. Our video series also aims to unjargon these terms for simple understanding. Pre-money valuation is used to refer to the equity valuation established immediately before the funding event. Think of it as a snapshot of the company's value just before new investors step in. Post-money valuation, as the name suggests, indicates the equity valuation post the fresh infusion of capital in the company. A pre-money valuation can be arrived at using multiple valuation methodologies. DCF or discounted cash flow method is the most widely used and accepted one. There are other well-known methodologies like the comparable transaction approach as well. The end goal is to scientifically arrive at the cash benefits that can be derived from continued operations of the business. This could be in the form of cash inflows or cost savings that plays out as an attributable value of an asset at any given point of time. A post-money valuation can be simply arrived at by adding the external amount of funding to the pre-money valuation calculated using accepted methodologies. Let me explain this with an example. Let's say an investor, Kevin, has decided to invest 5 million in a startup named Magic. For the sake of this explanation, let us also assume that the founders of Magic and the investor Kevin have agreed to value the asset at $20 million. Now let us understand the impact of the terms pre and post in this scenario. In the case of 20 million being a pre-money valuation, Kevin will be entitled to a stake of 20% as his investment will value the company at 25 million post-money. In the case of 20 million being a post-money valuation, Kevin will be entitled to a stake of 25% as this situation would imply a 15 million pre-money valuation. The reason this is important to know, especially for first-time founders, is that term sheets usually carry pre-money valuation, and in cases where potential investors miss mentioning the prefix, it is important that as founders, you have that clarified before moving ahead to avoid wasting time on pointless negotiations at a later point. Founders and investors alike almost always use pre-money to communicate the value of the business before an event of equity capital infusion. Post-money is used to communicate the percentage of ownership transfer post the equity capital infusion. But referencing to the prefix also has use cases in the legal drafting of the investment clauses to define the benchmark or floor and ceiling of the valuation to safeguard the future interests of the investors widely used to set post-money valuation cap. In the case where business is very early or active in a sector that isn't very mature or there are way too many unknowns in the bet, it is very common to reserve the valuation conversation for the current investment round by considering instruments like convertibles. This ensures that the investors with such instruments are allowed to convert to equity shares based on a valuation established in the future priced rounds. This way, an investor can invest in the merit of the idea and the capability of the founder without a lot of back and forth on the valuation of the business. It is also important to understand that certain protective clauses in these convertible instruments and set an upper limit to the valuation at which the investment will convert to equity. Simply put, this way you can incentivize early believers in the business. The pre-money value determined in the subsequent priced rounds would serve as the post-money value to allow for such conversions. Let's bring back Kevin and Magic to explain this. If Kevin invests 10 million in Magic at a 100 million post-money cap, this means that even if the valuation of the business skyrockets to 200 million, at the time of the next price round, Kevin's investment is still capped at 100 million valuation, ensuring he gets a 10% equity as against 5% equity in the absence of this clause. Y Combinator introduced and popularized the use of this convertible instrument called SAFE, which makes use of the clause mentioned earlier to provide comfort to their investors and clarity to the founders. In the case of a down round, which is a very common occurrence in the funding winter for a lot of cash-strapped businesses, the prefixes help activate certain clauses in the agreement like the anti-dilution clause. A down round is when the pre-money value of a current round is lower than the post-money value of the preceding round, and hence the importance of the prefix. Mathematically, the difference between the pre-money and the post-money value is very simple. The consideration for founders is the specific usage of the terms in the investor conversations. Early stage founders who are not adept at the brutal ecosystem may find this overwhelming and run the risk of being ignorant of a simple prefix that has long lasting implications. Don't forget to take a pause and review the conversations carefully and bring in experts when required to help on areas that are not necessarily your expertise. Lastly, equity is the most expensive form of capital a business can raise, and don't let a simple prefix come back and bite you at a later stage.